The situation around Japan and China is rapidly slipping out of control, turning into one of the most dangerous geopolitical hotspots on the planet. And in recent weeks, according to analysts from Nikkei Asia, the region has entered a phase of managed confrontation where any mistake could lead to a full-scale crisis. It all began half a year ago, when Chinese military ships increasingly entered Japan's territorial waters near the disputed Senkaku Islands, and according to sources in the Japanese Ministry of Defense, these incursions did not look like ordinary patrols, but like deliberate provocative maneuvers accompanied by aggressive radio exchanges and attempts to push Japanese vessels out of their own territorial zones. Over the past 6 months, more than 50 such incidents have been officially recorded, and these are only the cases Tokyo dares to publish. According to experts from the Center for Strategic Studies at Hosei University, dozens more episodes remain classified because they occurred too close to Japanese military facilities and posed a threat to national security. These provocations coincided with the rise to power of Japan's new Prime Minister, Sanae Takaichi, a politician with a hard pro-American stance and an open sympathy for the Trump administration. It was she, according to Asahi Shimbun, who became the first Japanese leader in 20 years to publicly declare direct support for Taiwan, calling it the most important democracy in the region and a critical element of East Asian security. Beijing perceived this statement as crossing a red line, and Chinese state channels, including CGTN, aired emergency broadcasts, claiming that Tokyo is deliberately destabilizing the region by playing Washington's dangerous games. According to insiders close to the Chinese Foreign Ministry, Xi Jinping was personally informed of Takaichi's remarks, and as South China Morning Post reports, the Chinese leader instructed his advisors to accelerate preparations for tough response measures. What is especially surprising is the reaction of Japan's closest ally, the United States. Donald Trump, who in his previous term positioned Japan as a key element of the anti-China strategy, now prefers to remain silent. No official comments, no statements of support, no expansion of defense guarantees, nothing. According to experts from Brookings Institution, such passive behavior by the White House looks like a deliberate attempt to force allies to take more responsibility and finance their own defense. However, for Japan, this has become a painful signal, especially for Takaichi, who built her political career on the conviction that the alliance with the United States is the foundation of the country's security. According to the Yomiuri Shimbun editorial staff, closed-door discussions have been ongoing within the Japanese cabinet for several weeks about whether Japan can continue to rely on America if Washington chooses not to intervene at a critical moment. Insiders claim that the Prime Minister was shocked when the White House did not even comment on the latest incident, in which a Chinese destroyer approached a Japanese patrol vessel at a distance of less than 300 meters, effectively forcing the crew to perform an evasive emergency maneuver. The disappointment has reached such a degree that Takaichi, according to Kyodo News, took an unprecedented step. She temporarily suspended several major military contracts with the United States, stating that Japan would not fund defense projects if Washington fails to act as an ally under real threat. These contracts involve the purchase of American air defense systems and the modernization of naval aviation, deals worth more than $4.2 billion. In an official statement issued by the Japanese cabinet, it was announced that the funds would be redirected toward developing Japan's own defense technologies and strengthening cybersecurity. For the United States, this is a painful blow. Japanese purchases accounted for a significant portion of the American defense export budget, and the reduction in orders may become a signal for other allies as well, especially European ones that are already beginning to shift toward their own defense developments. According to analysts from Defense News, the Pentagon is concerned that Tokyo's decision may trigger a domino effect. If the main United States ally in Asia begins to demonstrate independence, then South Korea, the Philippines, Australia, and even Taiwan may reconsider their procurement strategies. The current situation, as noted by experts from the International Institute for Strategic Studies, may lead to a structural crisis in United States-Japan cooperation. Inside Japan, according to Nikkei, Takaichi's approval ratings have risen after her tough statement, as the population is tired of China's constant provocations. and believes the country must respond more firmly and independently. But in Washington, Takaichi's move was received coolly. According to sources close to the White House, Trump believes Japan has lived off American protection for too long and must now show initiative on its own. This divergence in positions creates a vacuum that Beijing is trying to exploit as actively as possible. According to Chinese insiders in a confidential report prepared for the party leadership, China views Takaichi's behavior as a signal that Japan has definitively taken the United States' side on the Taiwan issue and intends to respond asymmetrically. Chinese military forces have increased the number of patrols around the Senkaku Islands, more actively deploying ships and reconnaissance aircraft into the region. And on state-controlled social media, a new campaign has been launched under the hashtag Japan Provokes China. At the same time, Chinese analytical centers have intensified pressure in the informational domain, claiming that Japan is preparing a united front with Taiwan and the United States, a narrative Beijing uses as justification for further military escalation. Meanwhile, the economic dimension of the conflict is also becoming increasingly tense. According to Financial Times, Beijing is considering revising trade preferences for Japanese companies operating in China, as well as imposing restrictions on the export of critical rare earth minerals to Japan. This would deal a blow to its industry, especially to manufacturers of electronics and high-tech materials. Tokyo understands that China is ready to use economic leverage as readily as military tools. The most alarming aspect is that the situation is unfolding amid global uncertainty. The United States is preoccupied with domestic political conflicts and a tariff war with China. Europe is experiencing an economic downturn and can no longer act as a unified player. At this moment, Japan and China find themselves pulled into a dangerous historical cycle in which any wrong word, any maritime incident, any statement by the Prime Minister could become a trigger for escalation. As Reuters analysts write, the region is now balancing on the edge of a systemic crisis that could become the largest since the Korean War. All this is happening at a time when America, the main guarantor of regional stability, has suddenly stepped aside. Insiders in Tokyo say that Takaichi will continue to pressure Washington, demanding a clear position and real actions. But for now, Trump remains silent, and this silence has become the main factor of uncertainty that increases the risk of further escalation. What happens next will become clear in the coming weeks, but it is already evident that the situation in the region is moving toward a point from which a return to diplomacy will be too costly. Insiders in Tokyo claim that if Washington continues to ignore Takaichi's requests, Japan may announce the temporary creation of an independent regional security coalition with Taiwan, South Korea, and Australia, which would become a historic precedent and a blow to the entire architecture of the United States post-war alliance system in Asia.